white balances and everything. Thanks for coming, for waiting, everybody. We appreciate it. I'm Graham McElhern, Communications Manager with Transportation Services at the City of Edmonton. We have an update to share with you today about the Metro Line. As most of you know, almost all the work on the Metro Line connection between Health Sciences and NAIT has been completed, and the City has been working with its private sector contractor, Thales Rail Signaling Solutions, to get the final piece of the puzzle, the signaling system, into place. Thales is building a communication-based train control signaling system, or CBTC, that will control and optimize the Metro Line. Originally, we expected to have the CBTC in place and operational in 2014, but installing the system proved more complicated than anyone expected, and the project has been delayed. In just a moment, Transportation General Manager Dorian Wandzura will share some of the updated project schedule details that we shared today with City Council. We're also pleased to have joining us today Mr. Mario Pelequin from Thales. Mr. Pelequin has some thoughts to share about the state of the project, and we're grateful that he is here to help answer some of your questions as well. In a few minutes, Mayor Iveson will join us, and he'll have some things to say too. You may also have noted that we have some technical descriptions and timelines on related to the Metro Line mounted on these boards here. So once statements have been provided and questions asked and answered, we do have LRT Design and Construction Branch Manager Wayne Mandrick here, who will be available to answer any sort of technical questions or explanations about these if you'd like to ask him about that. So these boards are also available for publication, and they are in your press release. There's links that have been delivered with the digital version. So the mayor will be joining us in a few minutes, but right now I'll turn it over to Dorian for his remarks. Dorian?
Thanks, Graham, and thanks to everyone for coming. It feels like we've been part of this conversation about the Metro Line for a while now, and it's good to be able to give you an update, and an update that people have been waiting for. As we talked about in October, we've had a lot of people pulling in the same direction in this project, and that's to bring the Metro Line into safe, reliable public service as quickly as possible, in addition to providing strict and strong city oversight on the Metro Line project. When we talked in October, the intent was to have Thales Rail Systems hand over the control system December 31, and unfortunately we were unable to achieve that. After that, in December, we asked Thales to provide the most reliable, low-risk testing schedule possible so that they could provide us some assurance when they could deliver the signaling system for the Metro Line. Thales provided that schedule Friday, and we shared that with City Council today. Based on that schedule, Thales is committed to be handing over the signal system for the Metro Line March 23rd, 2015. If Thales is able to meet this deadline and the signalization system works the way ETS needs it to work, we're looking at opening the Metro Line into public service spring 2015. And before that happens, Thales has to meet several milestones. The display boards here help explain some of these milestones, but here's a brief summary of some of the critical path items. The system software needs to be completed and tested. Minor field modifications based on that testing are required. An overall site acceptance test means that overall site acceptance testing needs to be completed, which basically means that field testing for all the software coding has to be completed. That's the coding that Thales is doing at its headquarters in Toronto. Thales also needs to obtain and provide us a safety certificate for the entire Metro Line system that will ensure that it's safe for public operation. Once these milestone tests are met, 2 full system shutdown tests are required, sort of like a practice test before a final exam. These 2 system shutdowns, currently scheduled for March, will require full weekend access to the LRT system, with bus bridging in place for ETS passengers. Once the final tests are complete and satisfactory results are verified, Thales will turn the system over to ETS. If that schedule is met, ETS then expects to receive the Metro Line signal system with safety certification by March 23rd, 2015. This handover from Thales is a critical milestone for the project. It really determines the start of public service on the Metro Line. Once Thales hands the system over, ETS will need about 6 weeks to make sure the system operates the way it's intended to and to train operators on the Metro Line. Once operator training is complete, we can open the Metro Line to safe and reliable public service. According to the schedule, again, spring 2015 is our anticipated opening date. At this point, I'm pleased to have Mario Pelequin from Thales Rail Systems joining us today, and I'd invite him to make a few comments as well. Mario?
Thank you, Dorian. First of all, let me assure you that Thales Canada is and has always been committed 100% to deliver this project together with the city to ensure that the signaling system for the Metro Line is delivered as quickly as possible. Our teams are doing everything in their power to execute this project. Above all, our utmost priority and responsibility is on providing Edmonton Transit riders with a system that is absolutely safe, efficient, and reliable. That is the type of system the City of Edmonton has bought, and although it may take a little longer than anticipated, it is what the City of Edmonton will get. Installation of the communications-based train control system is complete, and we are now in the testing and final adjustment phase. The testing phase is exhaustive and must take into account every scenario possible at every minute of the operation of the new system. Thales has deployed the award-winning CBTC system Edmonton is receiving on 60 projects in more than 30 countries, moving 3 billion passengers each year. Every one of these deployments have their own unique requirements and challenges, and Edmonton is no different. For instance, normally we replace signaling system with a new system, state-of-the-art CBTC, in an upgrade or an expansion. In this case, we are tasked with connecting new technology to an existing 35-year-old system on the Capital Line and have it work seamlessly. Changing the system interface at level crossing to an automatic operation mode is believed to be a first in North America and has added a new level of complexity which we have had to work through. Scheduling testing activities and physical installation work with minimal interruption of service to passengers on the existing line is very inefficient at times, and it requires a little bit of extra time during the shutdown periods. The good news is that we are on the home stretch. We're confident the new schedule we provided to the city will give us the right amount of time to complete the full range of testing, validation, and where necessary updates to the system that leaves no doubt that we're handing over a completely safe and reliable transit system to the City of Edmonton. Upon handover, the City of Edmonton will have a state-of-the-art train control system that optimizes trip length and throughput of passengers in a reliable and safe manner. Thank you.
Thanks, Mario. So just to recap, we can't be more specific about an opening date for the Metro Line until really three things happen. The first is that Thales achieves its goals and turns over the signaling system March 23rd. Second, ETS evaluates the system for operating restrictions. And third, that ETS operators get field training on the Metro Line. All of this needs to happen with minimal service to our ongoing LRT service. So with that said, we understand and appreciate everyone's patience as we get closer to an opening date. This has been an inconvenience to Nate, students and staff. And while we have provided additional bus service in the Yuko Express, we know it's not a replacement for the LRT. We're taking this situation very seriously and grateful for the patience of Edmontonians. At this point, we're cautiously optimistic that we'll be opening the Metro Line in spring 2015. Thales is committed to this deadline. We're doing everything we can to make it happen. As Graham mentioned, we're expecting the mayor in a few minutes. And in the meantime, Mary and I are here to answer your questions. And when the mayor arrives, we'll turn the podium over to him. Once the mayor has shared some thoughts and answered some questions, Mario, Wayne, and I will be available to answer any outstanding questions you may have.
Why are you only cautiously optimistic? What's going to go wrong that's not going to open in spring? That takes you to the end of June, virtually.
Well, I think what, as Mario said, there's complexity in everything, especially integrating the 35-year-old GE system with the new CBTC system. While they think they've crossed all the hurdles, there still remains field testing to go, and every one of those tests has to pass repeatedly and reliably. If it doesn't, it needs to be reworked, adjusted. But that's the key thing to making sure this is safe and reliable operation.
Why did the city order a signaling system that is so complicated when there are signaling systems in place right around the world where multiple lines go down the same track? So why order a Cadillac when a Chevy would have done?
Well, I think what you've got is going to a communications-based train control CBTC really does allow that limited headway between trains. So right now at 5-minute headway, each train running down the Capital Line is 5 minutes apart. When you integrate the Metro Line, it'll be running 2.5 minutes apart. That increased headway requires different controls in our current fixed block system, and the CBTC system really allows those trains to run at that frequency that close.
Do you think, though, that there were other systems that were tested and already in place could perform that function?
I think when the city went to the market, 2010 or 11, those were, it was an open competition, open market. I think we spec'd the system that worked well, had 5 competitive bidders, and proceeded along with this project.
But it turns out it didn't work well. We've been more than a year late. So did you make a mistake when you thought it worked well?
No, I think that really, as Mario said, this project's had more challenges than they anticipated, and we're seeing that. But I think the key thing is that we're making sure that they're delivering a safe, reliable system that we can put into service for the public.
Mr. Palaquin, can we get your thoughts on this? You mentioned that this has been 60 projects in 30 different countries. What happened? Why this delay on such a small project?
It really comes back to what we've both been saying. It's the unique complexities of this system. You're right, it's not a large, long system, but there are unique features for the Edmonton project that we haven't seen anywhere else in the world. And I've mentioned a few of them during my previous comments, but the crossing is one of them, very, very complex because it's somebody else's technology that operates the crossing. We had to interface with that and make it work in a very safe manner. We will not hand over a system that's not 100% safe. We have to issue a safety certificate, and our safety group treats that very, very seriously. The other aspects, for example, are the traffic management system. So we interface with traffic management when the train is running at street level, and that's also another complexity that is more complex than what we estimated at the beginning of the project. So these are things that are unknown when you propose a system to a city anywhere in the world, because it's a request for proposals. Technical documents don't contain all the intricacies when you start opening boxes and look inside. So these complexities, nobody could predict them early on in the project. The good news is that we are doing everything that we can to resolve those complexities. We're there, we're testing, the system will work, and we never did give up, and we're not giving up on this one.
This is by my count the 5th deadline that the city has gotten from Thales for this system. Why do you have more confidence in this deadline than the previous 4?
Well, yes, of course, because as we finish phases of the project, the certainty that there's less unknowns that will surface is a lot better. So at the stage where we are now, field installation is complete. We're tweaking a few things as we discover during the testing that things could be optimized. For example, we're adding a couple of antennas because the reception is not optimized everywhere. So these are normal testing procedures where we make tweaks to the system as we go. So of course, the less work there is to do, the more confidence we have on the remaining of the work.
With the benefit, I understand this is with the benefit of hindsight, but with the benefit of hindsight, would it have been better to take out the existing system and the existing crossing system and replace it all with one new uniform system?
I'll answer on behalf of Thales, and I'll let Dorian answer on behalf of the city, because we will have 2 different views on this. At a general level, clients want things a certain way for their own reasons. We want things a certain way for our own reasons. For simplicity, we like to install a system where there's nothing else. We don't like to interface with things that are old or not operate in a manner that is consistent with our system. So the short answer is yes, but there are very, very good reasons why the city asked for the system to be installed the way that it is. And that's different than what we would like to see on every system. Greenfield, new track would be fantastic, but that's not the way the world works. Did you want to add to that? Or?
Sure. I think installing the CBTC system where you've got the Metro Line, Capital Line overlaying and continue to use the GE system on the balance of the Capital Line represents good value for the taxpayer. So you're optimizing the use of what you have in place. You're not replacing it you're not throwing it out if you can still get value out of it. So while we're upgrading on the coexisting line, or the coexisting lines, Metro Line, Capital Line, where they interface, we're still continuing to use and get value out of the GE system that the city's had for 35 years.
Talking about good value, the line is a year and change delay.
Yep.
Can you quantify what it would have cost to replace the whole new system here?
I don't think I can give you a number on what the entire replacing, upgrading the entire system would be worth. But we are building an LRT system that's going to operate for 50 years. So we're keeping the long-term view of this as well.
This is, I think, $450 million line with a completely new system for the rest of the system. I mean, is this a case of nickels holding up dollars or millions of dollars?
No, I don't think I'd characterize it that way.
In terms of best practices, though, other cities have had major expansions incorporating into existing lines. Have other cities experienced similar problems, do you know, or is Edmonton unique?
I think every city is likely different. I think what Mario described is, as Mario described it, is running across the specifics they have in Edmonton. It's the first time they've run across that in their business experience. So I think every city is unique, and we're working through the challenges that we're running across to get this open and in service.
Laura, I'd like to ask you: has your company ever experienced a delay of this length? Is it common in your business? Is it common in the industry?
No, every project is very different, of course, and because we work globally, we encounter different types of clients. Some like to change what they want during the project, of course. That makes the project last a lot longer. And some clients know exactly what they want right at the beginning and they stick with that. And I can give you a couple of examples. We installed a system in London in record time just before the Summer Olympics. It started on time and there were no service interruptions during the Summer Olympics. And very, very similar type project in Vancouver before the Winter Olympics. A record time installation. It was SkyTrain. We had done the other SkyTrain lines. It was very common type project for us, so very quick, and there were no service interruptions during the Winter Olympics. As opposed to that, Edmonton has a couple of particularities that I've talked about before that causes different kind of hurdles that we have to get over. The good news is we've never walked away from a project anywhere in the world, and we've always executed the project in a way that the system starts running efficiently and also very safely. There's never been an incident or an accident.
Was there any point along the process where you realized that there was a problem in place, that there were going to be major delays, that you could have gone back to the city and said, we should have a plan B? Or was it always sticking to plan A?
No, we worked very closely with the city during the whole project, right from kickoff of the overall project until today. As things were uncovered, as normal projects go, our project team would sit with the city's project team and discuss the issues and discuss how to resolve them. Technically, it's our problem, but contractually with the city. So we would sit with them, explain what we found and how we propose to solve it. As these things don't get all discovered at once, because that would be a lot easier, we could sit down and cover everything in one shot and be done. As you progress in the project, field installation, then software installation, train installation, all these things pop up at different times during the project.
Do you expect to pay financial penalties based on what's in the contract for delays?
We're focused 100% on delivering the project, and that is going to be our focus until it's handed over with a safety certificate to the city. If there are any of those types of discussions, they'll take place after that is done. We don't want to divert our focus in too many directions. Execution is the first priority.
Can you tell us the value of the contract that you signed?
It is in the millions of dollars, but it's not in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
What do you say to Edmontonians who wanted to get on this thing in April last year and won't get on it until May, maybe?
Say the same thing that I've said in October, is that we're disappointed that we did not hand it over in the time that was expected, but we are doing our very best to deliver the system as quickly as possible, and the first priority is that when it's handed over, it will be a safe system.
Do you think you had all the information you needed when you bid on the contract and when you started work on the contract?
Well, we had all the information that was in the specifications that were provided under the request for proposals, which is exactly the same information that all the other bidders had. So, we had as much information as what was provided at that time.
Let me ask the question a different way. You talked about the problem integrating the old system. You talked about the problem integrating the crossings. Did you know all of those things were going to be challenges when you took on the project?
No, because during the estimate process, the bid process, you develop the estimate for the whole project based on the information you have. And if it's not sufficient, you ask, there's a process whereby you can ask questions and clarifications. So where there were questions that we didn't know for sure, we asked questions, got clarifications, and proceeded that way. Of course, you know, a request for proposal is a document, maybe thick, maybe thin, but it's a document. It cannot contain all the wiring diagrams and all the things for every box or every component. So as a company that does this work globally, we know how they work in general and what we expect in general, and we base our estimation of the project on that.
So is this the longest delay you've ever had in a project?
You know, I couldn't tell you right now because delays are a length of time, but they're also complicated with change in scope sometimes, or delays. Clients sometimes stop the project because they run out of funds, and so delays can be a lot longer, but not for the same reasons. So this delay is longer than what we wanted, of course, and it is unique in the sense that we've been working continually and the city has never stopped it, and we're at the final phase now.
What happened between the October announcement and December 31st weekend handover? Why wasn't that met? You had thought in October it would happen, it didn't happen.
Right. And we had given a commitment on that. We encountered after that, during the testing phase, some integration issues that were not even known at that time. When you do the testing of the software in the field, you uncover certain aspects that you couldn't predict in a lab or in a simulator. And as these things come up, we have to find ways to resolve them, and that's what we've been doing. And of course, if they're significant, then they have to incur some delays.
Dorian, is the city keeping tab on what the cost is for this system not to be up and running, and what it will be if it actually goes ahead as planned as you have now?
Well, part of strong oversight is understanding your cost, schedule, scope, so yes. But as Mario said, our focus right now is making sure that we can do everything we can to assist Thales in getting this open.
So no total right now, looking at a hypothetical start that you're saying right now?
No, nothing that I can share.
How confident are you that the city's part of the training and all of that can be done in 6 weeks?
Well, we've made really good strides since October. We've inspectors and controllers been fully trained. We were shooting for an early January handover, or December 31st handover. So our operators, controllers have been trained. We have a robust training schedule that gets people in behind the cars, running the new rails. I think one of the key things is that the Metro Line has 17 at-grade crossings. On a scale that's significantly more than the South Capital Line. So we need to give our people time in the chair, time in the driver's seat to get used to pedestrians, cars, road crossings, that sort of thing. So we've got to make sure that we are doing our due diligence and make sure that our folks are competent and capable to carry passengers.
And what are the people who are not working on a line that should have been running, that have already been hired and trained? What are they doing in the meantime? Are they working, doing other jobs for EPS, or just waiting?
No, we have an internal staffing plan. So we have folks. The ETS bus and LRT operations can be fluid staffing. So we are anticipating getting this open, and we're okay with staffing.
And so March 23rd is when you handover date?
Yes, that's the date we're working towards.
And so you'll let us know if March 24th comes around and...
That's been our commitment to be open and transparent with Edmontonians. We work closely. Daily, weekly, with Thales from the ground of a shop floor to my counterpart in Toronto. So we are staying in close contact with Thales every step of the way on this.
And you've talked about bugs along the way. Are there any bugs that haven't been resolved yet, or is this just about finishing up the work, I guess?
Yes, so the field installation is completed, the physical field installation is completed. Few little tweaks that I explained before. 90% of the testing is done, so there's 10% of the testing. Of course, there are things that we uncover during tests that we need to fix. And you see on the chart that the city has provided, there are software releases that are upcoming. And those software releases are normal project, CBTC project behavior, because as we figure out things that are not optimized during the tests, we issue a new software release to make sure that those are taken into account.
The 10% of the testing that remains, is that for any components of the system that you suspect are more difficult than other components of the system?
No, we're in the integration phase. So the way we build these systems, we build components, we test them, we simulate the system in Toronto, the whole Edmonton transit system. But then when we come and deploy it in the field, certain things just aren't the same as what is being simulated. So it's not critical components now, it's just integration of everything that we've put together in the field, in the real state that they're going to be in for the operations.
How long ago did the first major red flag come up for you guys? What would you say?
I would say, from my personal point of view, I would say during vehicle installation, we found that some of the, it's a very simple technical thing, but routing of cables in the vehicles could not be done the way that we had designed it. So we had to modify the way that we routed cables inside the vehicles, the cables you don't see when you ride the trains. So that's one of the first things that we saw, because the retrofit of the vehicles was early on in the project.
So what time frame was that?
Oh, that would have been within a year of kickoff, because design takes a while to get to that stage, and then we can start taking panels off and looking inside the cars to see what we need to
Year
do.
of kickoff, what, like 2012?
That would be in 2012.
So 2012.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, again, that's something that will be resolved afterwards. The focus right now is on the work. There are mechanisms within the contract. The largest is the holdback of the final payment. There's a significant amount of money that won't be released until this project is done. So that provides us security. Is that number public? I think it is. It's $20 million, and it's a $55 million contract, so it's a pretty big chunk of it. And we have stopped payment at this stage on other payments in the middle. So the company is at risk. They have to deliver this in order to be able to get paid, and that is their incentive to complete the work. Those are part of the terms and conditions that affect this work at this point. But as to what might happen afterwards, I think we've got to complete the project, and then we've got to talk about accountability afterwards.
In October, you said delay past December 31st was unacceptable, and you'd met with the president of Thales at that point. Did that do any good? Did that speed anything along, or?
Well, obviously, it didn't get it done by December 31st, but, again, what we're hearing from our officials is that work is continuing. Again, it's helpful to have the company here to speak to the work and reiterate their commitments around it. So, on the face of it, it is still unacceptable how long this has taken. The year-long delay now is unacceptable, but I can't change the fact that it has occurred. Again, the focus has to be on working together to complete the project. First and foremost, so that it's safe, and then as quickly as possible.
You mentioned back in October that the city auditor would be asked to look into it. Is that still the case?
Yes, it's in his work plan, and I've spoken to the city auditor as recently as this week about the work, and they're just beginning, obviously, but certainly the city auditor is committed to looking into this, and I believe asking some of the right questions so far, and I think that will produce information that's helpful to council and helpful to city administration to make any changes that would be necessary to manage projects like this differently or better into the future. So if we can learn something from this, our city auditor will help us do that. And I expect there'll be internal reviews as well from the transportation department, all of which council will discuss in due course.
Interlining is, again, it's common all over the world. Do you think someone within transportation, or do you think a Cadillac system was ordered when, a Chevy system could have done considering interlining is common and signaling systems happen all over the world every day?
It's interlining's common, but it's not that common at 2.5-minute separations necessarily. So it is a complicated system that also then has to go onto the surface and interact with crossing arms. Not every system would have that. So it is a complex system, there's no doubt. As for what was ordered, if we ordered off the shelf the same technology that we use with our existing line, we'd only be able to run trains every 5 minutes, and we would really start to impair the capacity of the system. So to protect the system for being able to achieve its full capacity, whether it's on game night or whether it's a school day at Nate and McEwen, requires a next level system from what we had, and also future-proofing the system to expansion into the northwest part of the city up towards St. Albert requires the right system to stand the test of time for 50 years. And putting in the same system that we have now wouldn't give us that, and we'd still be looking at trying to do an upgrade like this to the system in the future at even greater expense and disruption once the system was open. So I think overall, my understanding is that the merits made sense to go for this more advanced technology, but that has brought with it obviously some unanticipated complications, which, you know, we're getting closer to resolution on those things, and it's just unfortunate how long it's taken to resolve all of those elements.
These students are going to be asking again, now that they've lost a full year of LRT service, if there's going to be any kind of gesture.
Well, and my reply to the students at Nate, I do feel for the students at Nate. You know, I'm a big fan of the UPass program, and I understand that they were very supportive in a referendum last year that assumed that the LRT was coming. There are many Nate students today and in the future who will use the bus and not use the LRT. And to mitigate the fact that the LRT wasn't there, the city has added additional bus service in lieu of the LRT. So we're attempting to provide, you know, in some ways equivalent service to what Nate students would have enjoyed with the line open. I recognize it's not exactly the same thing, but it's not like the city isn't delivering transit to Nate students on an ongoing basis. So we see that we're meeting our obligations there. I recognize that Nate students are frustrated. I will ask for their continued patience and look forward, hopefully, if this all works out, to having it for the next school season.
How confident are you that we won't be here in March with the case of deja vu?
I'm not going to speculate. It feels like we're getting closer to where we need to be on this. It feels like progress is being made. I'm not in a position to make guarantees or take bets on this. But you know, we all have expectations that this project is going to get done, and it sounds like best efforts are being made all around to get there.
Do you think there might have been a flaw in the city's original proposal to, you know, marry a 35-year-old signaling system with a brand new one? Should you have looked at replacing the entire system?
Well, that would have been even more expensive and complicated. So I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that. I think that's one of the valid questions that we're going to ask the auditor to look at. Is the scope of what was set out? But you know, I don't have an opinion on that. I don't have enough information to have an opinion on that.
Do you worry when a system like this gets delayed by over a year that it undercuts public support for big LRT projects?
I'm not hearing any concern from Edmontonians that we should not be building LRT or pursuing LRT expansion in our city simply because we've had the one delay, a long delay, albeit with one element of this system. I think Edmontonians are still looking forward to having it open. They certainly want to see it open. Nate students want to see it open as quickly as possible. People want to see it open to coincide with the new arena so that people can come and go from that as it develops. So no, I mean, no one's seriously arguing that because we've had this one challenge with one contract on one line that's otherwise under budget that we shouldn't be continuing with LRT. If anything, people are chomping at the bit. They want to be on this line and they want the next line to still go ahead. So no, I think Edmontonians are undeterred. They're frustrated because they'd like to use the system. Not hearing anyone say we shouldn't be pursuing it.
Okay, everybody, thank you.